This is one of the most important things you need to understand. Once you bought an investment property, you want to make sure it's full as much as possible. In this video, I want to share with you how you can keep your property fully let, which means you minimize your void periods and maximize your rental profit. So my name is Simon Zutshi. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller. I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, the largest network of investors around the UK with 50 monthly meetings. I've been investing in property since 1995 and helping people like you to become successful investors since 2003. Now, this is one of the most important things you need to understand. Once you bought an investment property, you want to make sure it's full as much as possible. There will be some times where you have no tenants. When you first buy a property, generally you buy a property what's called vacant possession. It means it's empty. That means you can do a bit of work to it, get it ready, then put your first tenants into it. Sometimes your tenants will move on for whatever reason. Now, if you've got a single let property, when your tenants move, obviously you've got no rental income coming in at all. That's a time where you're going to have to cover the mortgage, you're going to have to pay the council tax, you might have to pay, obviously you've got to pay the insurance on it, you might have standing charges for electric and gas. So you want to minimize that period as much as you possibly can. Now, one of the things you can do is when you know that tenants have given notice, they normally have to give you a month's notice, you could start advertising the property straight away. Don't wait until the tenants have left. Now, it might be you need to do a little bit of cosmetic tidying up, but when you first get the property, you should take lots of great pictures, and those are the pictures you use to advertise the property whenever you have a void coming up. So people are looking at it, maybe there's a bit of wear and tear. Before the next group of tenants move in, you're going to get the property cleaned, maybe a quick cosmetic tidy up if you need to. So it should be pretty much back to the condition it was when you first let the property out. So don't wait until your tenants move out, start marketing straight away. Now, right now, there's an incredibly high demand for single let properties, especially if you have a bit of outdoor space because of what happened in 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic. People don't like to be boxed up, but if outdoor space is really, really valuable. So you should be able to let them pretty quickly. And when you do re-let a property, by the way, just sense check what is the rental demand in the area, and do you need to adjust your price down, or can you in fact adjust your price up? If you've had a tenant in the property for a good amount of time, it might be that the former tenant was paying a rent that actually is too low for the current market. So it's a great opportunity when you do have a void period or a tenant move out to address, should you be charging more? Now, you've got to be realistic. I was looking at a property, a rental property, just last week, and it was a really nice big property. The owner wanted £2,500 a month for rental income for this. But to be honest, the condition was really not very good. It was very dated. It looked a bit like, no offense, but your grandmother's property. It was very, very old fashioned. And for that kind of rent in that area, it just wasn't going to be possible. And that property has been on the market empty for 4 months. And I'm sure it's going to be empty for longer. And the agent's spoken to the owner, but the owner is adamant because she's achieved that much rent in the past, that's how much she wants to get for the property right now. So being stubborn like that is very foolish. Check with the local agents what's the realistic demand. Now, you might think, yeah, but if I can get a bit more, I want to get a bit more. But you've got to factor in how long is it empty for? You've got to take that into account. Now, if you have an HMO, a house of multiple occupation, the good news is that when tenants move out, you generally don't get all of the tenants moving at the same time. Unless it's a student property where they generally tend to come as a group and they'll all move out at the same time. But the good news with a student property, normally you've lined up the next group of tenants at least 6 months before, and they move in pretty much the same day. You just get the property cleaned and the new tenants move right in. In a normal HMO, we rent individual rooms to different people. They'll each have their own contract, and occasionally people move on. They move on for a number of different reasons. Maybe they've met someone, fall in love, they want to move in with their partner. Maybe through their work, they're relocating or they're changing job and the location of your property is no longer suitable. But really, a way to minimize your voids is try and not only get the tenants in, but keep them in the property for as long as you possibly can. Now, there are a number of ways you can do this. First of all, you can make sure that the property is a great property. Imagine someone's living in this room and that's their home. They've got all their stuff there. You need to make sure there's plenty of storage space for them. You need to make sure there's plenty of plug sockets in the right places. And ideally the plug sockets have got the USB ports. So, make sure you're modern and it's a great functional room for people to live in. People do like to have ensuite facilities where it's a private shower and hand basin and toilet, but that's not necessary to have it in every room. You might have a communal bathroom that a couple of people share, but make sure not too many people are sharing that because that might put people off as well. And then when people are in the property, you want to make sure that you are a great landlord. When there are problems in the property, get them fixed quickly for two reasons. First of all, if the tenant thinks you're not a very good landlord, that might incentivize them to give up and move out, especially if things are always going wrong. A mistake I see many people make in their property is, especially if they're kind of tight on their figures and they want to make as much as they can, they do things like they get the cheapest possible broadband internet, thinking that they're being smart. That's not a smart thing to do because the cheapest broadband is probably not going to be very reliable. And when it comes to an HMO, your tenants, a good internet connection is very high on their list of needs, just below the need for oxygen. Seriously, if your internet goes out, you'll get calls straight away. If the heating goes down, yeah, it might take a day for someone to let you know, but internet, they'll be on it straight away. So you want to make sure you've got the best possible internet you can in your property. Obviously, you want to make sure it's cost effective, but believe me, trust me when I say internet's a really important thing. So if you've got great internet, if you've got a nice house to live in that you're maintaining and looking after, then they'll know you're a good landlord. And also, you want to look after your investment. When you've got people occasionally move out, as they will, when you're showing new tenants around, if the property looks a mess, if it looks like there's lots of jobs to be done, that new tenant, that prospective tenant is probably not going to want to move in. So in an HMO, I would also have a cleaner who goes into the property once a week, sometimes twice a week if it's a big one, and they're cleaning the communal areas. Their job is not to tidy up, their job is to clean. They'll clean the communal bathroom, they'll clean the kitchen, they'll clean the living room area, but also they're your eyes and ears on the ground. You could get them to look out for maintenance jobs that might need doing. You can have a little book that the tenants can write maintenance jobs in there, the cleaner then lets you know, and you could keep on top of jobs to make sure the property is kept to highest possible standard. So be a great landlord, look after the property, put a cleaner into the property as well. When you're advertising your rooms, you want to go online and check out the competition. Put in the postcode in which you got your property, see what other people do. You will notice the vast majority of landlords who have HMOs, they're very average rooms. There might be magnolia walls, very strange, sometimes not matching furniture. They don't dress the room. You want to dress the room to make it look fantastic. And if you've just refurbished a property, set it up, get lots of great pictures. So every time the room becomes available, you've got great pictures to put online. You might even want to do a quick video, a little walk around, and certainly during the pandemic when people couldn't really do house inspections, many of my students, they were filling their properties even without people viewing them, just by viewing the online video tour of the property. So get one of those done, could be a really good idea as well. You also got to look at not just the pictures and dressing the room to make it look fantastic, you need to look at the description you're using, how you advertise. Are you really selling the benefits? If you've got really fast broadband, mention you've got really fast unlimited broadband. Think about the local area. If it's close to a big supermarket, put that in the advert because that's convenience for people. If it's got really good transport links, a local train station, bus link into the city centre, mention all of these things. Really important to make sure you're giving the best impression of this property you possibly can. When it comes to advertising online, I wouldn't go for the free and cheap adverts. Look, if you've got an empty room, that might cost you £400-500 if that's empty all month. It's worth spending £50 on a high quality advert to make sure as many people see that advert as possible. And as well as advertising your room, make sure that you are proactive in contacting people in the area who also want to rent. How can you do that? Well, on spareroom.co.uk, you can have As a landlord, you can advertise saying, I've got a property available for rent. But also tenants, potential tenants, can advertise saying, hey, I'm looking for a property or a room in this area. So you can email and contact those people, reach out to them and say, hey, look, I've got a property, send them a link. Were you interested in having a viewing? Now, there is competition. And so it's really important when people respond to you, whether it's you've reached out to them, they come back to you, or whether you've got an advert they're responding to, the speed of response is very, very important. They probably will be contacting other people about other properties as well. If you leave it too long, then you might miss out. Now, let's say you're working during the day and you can't respond to messages all the time because you're supposed to be working, you can get someone to do it for you. You can get a virtual assistant who's monitoring your emails, and as soon as they get a response, they very quickly go back. They might send a link to a video to show people what the property is about, and they're responding to make sure you're on top of it. When you actually get people to come and do the viewing, you really want to sell the property, sell all the features and the benefits to those people. Don't assume they're going to see it and work it out for themselves. Make sure they're fully aware of what you're doing, okay? So these are some of the things you can do to make sure that you minimize your void periods and maximize your rental income. I do hope this has been useful for you. If it has, why not hit the like button, maybe leave a comment about what particularly you liked. If you've got any questions, please do comment there. And the more likes and comments, the more people will see it. That helps me and helps more people benefit from these videos. If you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. You'll get notified whenever a new video comes out. I put a lot of free content out there to help you be a more successful investor. It's a real shame if you miss some of these videos, so make sure you subscribe so you get the videos every single week whenever they come out. So that's it from me. There's lots of videos on the channel. Have a look around. I do hope you got massive value from this. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. See you in the next video. I do hope you got massive value from watching this YouTube video. I'd encourage you to click on the link below to come and do the online training with me. And I've got another video lined up for you, which I think is also going to be really useful that you should watch once you've registered for the online training with me. So invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you very soon.